Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to our August 11th, 2025 meeting for the Transportation and Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board meeting. If we all could stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have Zoe do the roll call vote?
Okay, so I am going to, I know typically in the past, everyone has introduced themselves in the room. We're just going to stick to a member and alternate roll call. I do see we have some alternates present, so typically the way that I do the roll call is I'll call the present voting members. So I usually will skip the alternates if your member is present. So I do see it for, we've got Mr. Stringer here and, yes, Ms. Smith. So, but I do want to acknowledge that you're here. So I'm going to go in alphabetical order, and if you're here, just say present. And we have a quorum of 7, so we'll need at least 7. Amber Star Bush.
Here.
All right. Carlos Colon. Jeanette Estes. And then Mimi Hanley.
Here.
Tom Kamendenner. Sorry if I mess up your names. Marisol Martinez.
Here.
All right. Miriam Moore. Present. Gisela Ruiz. Here. Jennifer Sharifs. Anna Mae Smith. Here. James Stringer.
Here.
Camille Tate.
Here.
Dennis Vannersdal.
Here.
Shannon Wilson. Okay. And, all right. 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have 9 members present, so we have a quorum.
Thank you. We don't have any public comments at the moment, so we'll continue on to reports. First up is Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization staff report.
Good morning. Patty Rendon, Transportation Planner with the Space Coast TPO. We wanted to give some highlights from the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization's project status and updates and public outreach and engagement report. The full reports are attached in the agenda package, which we have paper copies here, and it's also been distributed virtually. So the Space Coast TPO had our annual open house event on June 11th, where we had over 50 attendees come out to learn more about our projects and mission. We also just had our Stop on Red Week pop-up event in collaboration with the West Melbourne Police Department this past Friday on August 8th. And the Stop on Red Week, if you weren't aware, is a national road safety awareness campaign that takes place during the first week of August, spearheaded by the National Coalition for Safer Roads and created by the Federal Highway Administration. This initiative intends to educate drivers on the risks of running red lights, a leading cause of intersection crashes that result in significant injuries or fatalities. And in fact, in 2023 alone, 681 and 84 individuals in Florida were either seriously injured or died from red light running, respectively. Also, on the docket, the Southern Brevard Trails Master Plan final report is in development, and we are scheduled to present to all the municipalities in Southern Brevard affected in the study area this month. And also attached in your agenda package is the Space Coast TPO's 2025 meeting calendar that includes all of our board and committee meeting dates and times in case anyone wants to attend some of our other committees. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the Space Coast Area Transit Director's report.
Good morning, everyone. I have a brief report for you this morning. Currently, our ridership reflects a 3% increase over year-to-date for comparisons for the previous year. Our most recent ridership is showing 3% when we're going month-to-month increases over previous year. If we continue at our current trend of ridership increases, we will see very likely just below the 2 million annual ridership mark met this year, which puts us on par with almost pre-COVID ridership numbers. So we are steadily seeing the continued riders returning to the service, and we're very thankful to our operators and our staff for doing all they do to continue to support the services that we provide. Paratransit ridership is seeing a 7% increase. Ms. Baez is going to talk more about this momentarily in her report. As mentioned previously, we are expecting and have received new paratransit buses. To point, we've received 7 new vehicles with an additional 3 to come along. And once again, I'd like to thank our partner, Carlos Colon, sitting next to me, and FDOT staff for their continued support and allowing and granting the funds that we've received to purchase these new vehicles, because they're going to replace vehicles that we have in service that have far eclipsed their useful life of 5 years. So thanks again for your support, Carlos. We will also, we have in process of being built 3 Gillig buses, which are the fixed route buses that you see picking up passengers at the stops along the roads that you travel up and down throughout Brevard County. That's an 18-month build process, so they are a good ways before we receive those vehicles. As reported previously, transit staff is in the process of going through steps to procure demand response software. The staff have completed all the vendor the vendor demonstrations, and they're now going through the process of starting to write a request for proposals, which will allow us to evaluate and procure a new vendor for the demand response service. And for anyone who hasn't heard me speak about this before, we're looking to improve the services that we provide, but also the customer experience, and it will allow for things like the passenger to determine when the vehicle is arriving at their location. So example, for a pickup, they will get a notification of an imminent arrival, so they know the vehicle is 5 to 15 minutes out, versus not knowing when the vehicle is coming or where it's located. Also, we'll be able to do such things as accept or cancel their trip the day before, which will allow us to minimize our no-shows. Typically, currently, if the vehicle arrives at the passenger's house and they don't come out within 5 minutes, we perform a no-show. This will do something that allows our passengers to determine the day before, do they still want this trip or not, and then we can actually also potentially add additional trips and increase the volume of passengers we serve potentially once we get this implemented. That is my report, Madam Chair. If there are any questions, glad to answer.
Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Transit Community Outreach Report.
Good morning. I'm Carmen Baez from Space Coast Area Transit. From the last meeting, we didn't do so many events. The big events that we did was the summer kickoff party at Cocoa Library, and then on July 26th is the end of summer kickoff party that children's going back to school and stuff like that. So, and then just recently I did the Cocoa Beach Rotary Club, which is on the agenda, but also I did the Titusville Rotary Club, and we spoke there. The reason why I do the Rotary Clubs, because I try to get volunteers for Volunteers in Motion out of these clubs, because some of them are retired, they're not really doing anything, so I go over there and try to recruit. I don't get far, but I try. You have any questions on the outreach? We're trying to get out there for them to know the services. I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is the Transportation Disadvantage Performance Report Card.
Okay. That's me again.
That's you too?
Yeah. Okay, like you said, the paratransit is increasing. I looked at last year's report, 23 to 24 fiscal year. We were 84,094 trips. The 24-25 fiscal year, we're up to 90,988 trips.
Wow.
So we are steadily increasing. And Diane Dixon asked me how many active clients that we have. We have 442 active.
How much was that again?
442 active clients. We range from 76 to 8,000 trips per month. And a weekly trips, a basic weekly, it varies, it depends what day of the week it is, from 360 to 430 trips a day. So it's steadily growing a lot. Do you have any questions on the performance report card?
Can you just repeat the weekly number of variance?
We have ranges from 360 to 430.
Thank you.
Some days are higher because we do dialysis 6 days a week, but certain days a week is even higher on dialysis, chemotherapy, shopping, and stuff like that. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And next up is the Volunteers in Motion report.
Good morning. I thought I would just take a minute or two just to kind of break down the report that is included in your quarterly. So the first part is program development. And basically, we're all, as Carmen mentioned, we are always looking for recruitment of volunteers to become vehicle operators or, help in the office. So you have the, of course, my name, office number, and I also include my cell phone, just in case I'm on the road, at least someone could get in touch with me. The next part is the active volunteer number. If there's any, that's pretty obvious, but the new volunteers, usually I'll put a little insert in there just talking briefly about the volunteer. In this case, I didn't. I was just trying to get it on one sheet. But I would like to just mention our newest volunteer, Jonathan. He's originally from Long Island, and he moved to Palm Bay about 2 years ago. He comes from a background of being a general contractor for 40 years, and he's volunteered for the Forest Hills Volunteer Ambulance Corps in New York. He's been a dive team leader for the New York Aquarium in Brooklyn for 10 years. More recently, he volunteered for the Brevard Zoo as ambassador for the future Bowen Aquarium. He also volunteered for Habitat for Humanity as a cruise superintendent, and he's currently volunteering for Turkey Creek Sanctuary in Palm Bay as a carpenter and handyman. And somewhere in there, he has agreed to volunteer for us. But the next part of this would be general. And I really just kind of put in there any sort of senior fairs that we're going to be going to and talk briefly about what, kind of what the background is of that senior fair. If we've already attended the senior fair, then I'm going to do a little write-up and kind of let you know what the experience was. And lastly is our stats, and hopefully by including the clients, trips, and volunteer hours, you can kind of see what our successes are for that quarter. I would hope that by looking at this, what this is telling me, if you can see that the clients we helped, there was just two more, last quarter it was 332, that was first quarter, second quarter 334. However, our trips went up, and so did our volunteer hours. So, what that is telling me is that it's possible that our clients requested more than one trip. So maybe we took them to the doctor, and then we took them, let's say, to the pharmacy or the store in the same day. That would be one reason. As far as the hours goes, it's possible that our clients are taking longer at their doctor's appointment. Maybe we did more procedures. And we definitely are taking people further. So kind of like we're taking a lot of folks to the up here to Vieira to Spyglass Hill Road, which is where a lot of doctors are. We are taking folks from, let's say, Palm Bay to come up to the Vieira Medical Plaza for different types of tests. And so that is going to, of course, make the trips longer. And that could be a reason why these volunteer hours are higher, even though we help the same amount of people from first quarter to second quarter. And other than that, hopefully that's the information I hope that you all are getting from the quarterly report, and that you can see hopefully that we're continuing to serve the community. Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So the next fair that you're going to is the Indian Club, Oaks Clubhouse in Rockledge. That's the next.
That will be the next one in October. It is small, but I kind of like it because you really do get to spend more time with the people that are walking by. A number of the residents in that community go to this fair. I would probably say about 75% of them are from the mobile home park, but everyone is welcome. So yes, that would be the next one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and now on to consent agenda. We're asking for approval of the minutes from the meeting of the May 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a correction.
Oh, you have,
Yeah, just on the attendance. I noticed I'm on page 72 as attending, but I am not in the minutes as attending.
okay.
I'll make note of that.
Okay.
I think Yvonne did the last minute, so I'll make sure that it matches the attendance for
Thank you.
next time. Yep.
All in favor?
I would
Oh,
like to.
wait a minute.
A
Okay.
correction as well. Sorry, if we're going to make a correction, I'll throw this one out there. So next to my name, it's Career Source Brevard Flagler Volusia is what it should be.
Career Source Brevard Flagler Volusia is
Correct.
correct?
Thank you.
Any other corrections here? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Do we have a second?
Yes, we did. I thought she's,
I had a question.
oh, sorry.
I
Okay,
can second it
Okay.
all right.
with the changes.
So I pass, and the minutes have passed. Now for presentations, we need the 2050 Long-Range Transportation Plan, Cost Feasible Plan. And Mr. Nick,
Yeah, we have one action item.
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, the approval. We need the approval of Resolution 26-04 for the PLC-8 TDLCB policy amendment. And Patty, I think you were going to speak on that?
Yes, so if you see on the screen, it has the changes, including revising the quorum requirements from a majority of filled positions to a set number of 7 voting members. Updated staff support provided to the TDLCB from Space Coast Area Transit to the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization, clarification of when election of the vice chair is conducted, and some other minor grammatical and clerical corrections.
Okay. Do we have any discussions on this? No discussions. Do I have any actions? Motion for this? Any motions?
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution 2604 on
And that's-
policy TC.
That's with,
TDLCB policy amendment.
I know.
It's a mouthful.
I'll second.
Okay, that was, motion was with Anna Mae Smith, and then Camille Tate was seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the motion passed. Thank you. Now on to presentations for the Advanced 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan Cost Feasibility Plan. Whoa. Mr. Lepp, how are you today?
Good morning. Nick Lepp from HDR here to present the plan, the Long Range Transportation Draft Cost Feasible Plan. I've said it so many times, it just kind of flows off my tongue.
You've got it down
Yes.
pat? Okay.
All right, so as a little overview, for most of you that have not been here yet, new members, welcome. So the Long Range Transportation Plan is one of the overarching documents that the TPO uses to help fund transportation projects going into that transportation improvement program that's the actually programmed funds over the next 5 years. So this looks as a long range ahead to make sure that we are still planning for those projects that aren't quite finished yet, and we have them in the plan, and we're continuing to make that progress towards implementing these priorities within the region. So one of the big plans, as you can see in the map, the long-range plan kind of starts it. And you've heard about the list of priority projects over the course of these meetings. Those are those top priorities that end up going into the Transportation Improvement Program, ultimately getting funded and implemented for construction. So in developing this plan, we need to look at and forecast all the people and goods within the region, make sure we're accounting for that over the next 25 years. Where are those mobility needs? Anything new? We didn't throw out the last plan. We wanted to continue on with that and see if there was anything new that developed. We need to prioritize those projects to make sure that they're still meeting the goals and objectives of the region as we're developing this cost-feasible plan. And then ultimately, to make them cost-feasible, it has to be cost-feasible, to be moved forward into the Transportation Improvement Program. So just because we identify it in the plan, and I'll get to that in a minute as we're developing the cost-feasible plan, doesn't mean it can move forward. We need to make sure that there's reasonable funding behind this project as we're moving it into the plan. So we're here right now. We kind of started this about 18 months, almost 2 years ago now, with the goals and objectives, making sure we confirmed that we were still moving in the right direction for the region as we're planning for 2050. Developing those needs, kind of confirming that with the local partners and the local governments. Have we established all of this new needs with the growth and development that's occurred? Does our plan include that? Issues and opportunities, identifying those issues for those new needs. And most important to this group, we also did the transit development plan in parallel. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing these plans and talking from the same side of our mouth as we're talking about future funding for mobility and transportation. So aligning the long-range transportation plan with the transit development plan will help for that future funding if new grants or something becomes available to make sure we can include them in these plans. And then we developed a draft financial plan or a draft cost feasible plan, which we're here right now to present and ultimately to adopt in September. So here are the goals that we've been following as we've been developing this plan, focusing on safety, multimodal options, linking that transportation and land use, and sustainability and resiliency as we're developing these projects. It's really important to collaborate. The purpose of this plan is really to gain public engagement and public involvement to make sure that we are moving in the right direction for the community. It's not just a bunch of technicians behind the scenes doing the math, though there is a lot of math behind to develop this plan, but we want to make sure that it's serving the plan for the community itself, going all the way out to 2050. We aligned it with all of the stakeholders and prioritized all of these projects and really looking at what these priorities were for the region and going in that right direction. And I wanted to say if a transportation project is not in the long-range plan, it can cause significant delays as you're trying to get it to move forward. So we really wanted to make sure we have the projects, those priorities, and what we're anticipating for funding in the future so we can make sure that they stay on track and on schedule. So the needs list is broken down into a couple different modal types. We wanted to look at those roadway needs, which consist of kind of those capacity, intersection, complete streets. Technology needs, where we're looking at the intelligent transportation systems or the cameras around the intersections. How can we optimize the system without as much to build? How is freight and cargo coming in and out of the region, which is a major component of the economy, and we want to make sure that is still coming in and out. The safety of bicycle and pedestrians, as that has been a focus in Florida, but we want to make sure that as we're doing these major roads, it's not just in absence of the other vulnerable users and other modes to get around. And then, of course, passenger and transit, where we were focused on that and making sure we included that in the plan for any future funding and development that may come forward. And there's still an emphasis on complete streets and sidewalks, resiliency. We have affordable housing in areas of persistent poverty as we looked at these plans. So all of this helped develop what we were calling our giant needs plan, which extends even past 2050, as you'll see pretty soon. So projects were prioritized based on how the TPO prioritize projects annually. In this plan, we wanted to align that process, so that way when the TPO comes forward and says, these are our priorities that we want to advance into it, it really came from that long-range plan and that same process. So looking at the safety, the transportation and land use, resiliency, very consistent with the goals. These are how the projects were prioritized, innovation, and then multimodal. And that really helped develop this plan and really sync it up with what the current priorities are, and allowed us to know that we are moving in that right direction and your priorities are the ones for the region. So we had a couple challenges. Funding is a little less this time than we had in the last plan. Projects to be decided to be cost feasible now needed to be funded fully through construction, where previously we could have demonstrated it as cost feasible by starting a phase, but it gave kind of the wrong impression of when a project would be complete. So if we started a phase in the last year of the plan, knowing that it takes 15 years for that project to get complete, kind of gave a false impression of when that construction was happening. So we've structured the plan to be a little bit more transparent, so it's fully funded, it's listed as cost feasible. The other ones are partially funded, which means we're still moving forward. We have money to complete some of those production phases, but it's not quite cost feasible. It won't be done by 2050. There was a big shift from formula funding to discretionary funds and then back to formula funding again. With that, there were kind of a little less funding that we had available to consider as part of this, and that example is the carbon reduction funds, which were originally part of our bill. Ended up, we sent them back to Washington, so we did not consider those as a reasonable funding source for the future. So we didn't want to include that to say, oh, we can fund a project with it if we don't think it's going to be there in 10 years. Also, we had to consider some new stormwater rules, which increased the cost, lack of mitigation credits, which could be difficult for building some of these new roads, and really the labor and inflation really had a big impact on these costs. In looking at the last plan versus this plan, we had about $722 million less over that 20-year period. Now, this is all forecasted and what we're planning on having, so it's a much more conservative plan than the 2045, but in doing so, we're only really able to fund about 9% of the needs of the region, which isn't much. But that's what we have available for federal and state. It doesn't mean that there aren't other mechanisms and other ways to start funding transportation. That's just what we have for a lot of these major roadway projects. So in developing that plan, we had to analyze the current community conditions. I said the math is into it, but we also really wanted to get that community engagement and input from them and making sure we were developing these projects and the priorities that they thought were the most important for the region. Prioritize that needs list, and then ultimately developing what we came up with as a draft cost feasible plan, which you should all have in front of you in your packets, also available online. But I can go through those if you have any questions. So some of our public engagement to date, we had about 9 working groups, had participation from about 80+ local leaders, a couple government community agencies as we went out and had some modal partner meetings, meeting with the port, the airport, even Space, Florida, to make sure we were meeting all of the needs of the region as it was bringing in freight and goods and commerce. And a lot of public engagement as we just went through some public workshops, and then we just had our open house just recently where we received some great comments. So some of the major aspects that I think would be important to this group as we align the 2 plans itself will help for future funding or future grant opportunities, which will be really helpful for this as we're advancing the transportation disadvantaged. Also, a couple of few projects that are in both is the Cocoa Intermodal Station. Development towards that, where we have funding almost full through construction, but we're looking for grants to help take us just over that edge. But we included the Transit Center and the Operations Center for Space Coast Area Transit, also in the Transit Development Plan. So again, both of these projects and both plans can help us achieve some of that future funding that may be needed. Really focusing on implementing the region's priorities, that list of priority projects, and we included box funds. This is a mechanism to help us do some more of those short-term or small push-button type projects that may come up of a sidewalk or a cross lane or a trail connectivity. Boxing those funds and setting them aside from just those regional projects helps the TPO prioritize some of those short-term needs while still focusing on that long-term implementation of these bigger projects. So some of our next steps, we have a public comment period open right now where we're hoping to hear more from the public. Hopefully they like the plan, if there's anything different that they didn't want to see or missing from the plan. So that's still available right now through the end of August. Website's there. Hope if anybody has any questions, but I'm hoping to receive those today if you do. And then our road to adoption, we're here today, and we're going to go for the Technical Advisory Committee and Citizens Advisory Committee in September, and then ultimately going to adopt it on September 11th in front of the board. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have towards our draft cost feasible plan. Yes.
I have a comment, I guess, I don't know, comment or question. One of the things that I've been concerned about is when we do this multimodal train station in Cocoa. One thing that I find that is often overlooked on many projects is actually handicap parking. It doesn't do anybody with a disability any good to park their car on the back 40 acres and try to catch a train. And it seems that that is often overlooked. I think that I feel that this has been a kind of a lifelong thing for me that I've been actually advocating. A lot of our local planning commission people, if the law requires 2 parking spaces, God help them if they would put in 3. It seems that we are a state of elderly and many infirm people who these facilities are basically very important to. They just can't get there. And that's the bottom line. So I think I'd like to see some kind of real, do it right the first time, and then you don't have to retrofit it.
Emphasis on accessibility. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments?
For Mr. Lupp? Well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your report. Now to the presentation from Patty here, from Vision Zero 2024 Annual Report.
Yes, so Patty Rendon, Transportation Planner, Space Coast TPO. I'll be presenting the 2024 Vision Zero Annual Report highlights before going into more detail on the signal for crash data. So from 2018 to 2022, there were 427 deaths and 2,317 serious injuries on Brevard County roads. The Space Coast TPO and local partners adopted Vision Zero to combat this crisis, aligning with state and federal initiatives to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries. This annual report supports the updated Vision Zero Action Plan, which was adopted in February of 2024, and also aligns with the Florida Department of Transportation's target of 0 fatalities and serious injuries by 2050. To give you some highlights from the 2024 wins, we worked with 34 collaborative partnerships, met with 12 law enforcement agencies, engaged 6 community partners in high injury network areas, and distributed free safety materials and resources to 35 communities. This year, in addition to the rail crossing elimination grant, the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant was awarded to the City of Palm Bay for the Emerson Drive project, which includes a sidewalk extension and speed management and will improve safety for vulnerable road users, especially near local schools. The Space Coast TPO also received the FDOT D5 Outreach Award at the inaugural Central Florida Safety Summit for the work done to spread safety messaging to our community. The report also showcases some of the outreach activities and partnerships, including with local law enforcement and participating in the Central Florida Safety Strategic Plan Steering Committee meeting. These collaborations on transportation safety, along with our robust digital safety campaigns, are part of the efforts to connect with the community and advance the Space Coast TPO's Vision Zero priorities. The Space Coast TPO analyzed Brevard County fatal and serious injury crash data from 2018 to 2022 to understand where crashes occur and evaluate other crash characteristics. This analysis helped identify countermeasures and strategies for the updated action plan. Revisiting the crash data annually helps track the progress of the action plan and the advancement towards the goal of 0 deaths and serious injury. In 2024, 82 people died and 372 were seriously injured on our roads. But compared to previous years, this is an average 12% decrease in fatalities and serious injuries. So here we have a year-by-year breakdown of those numbers. Compared to the average from 2020 through 2023, there was an 11% decrease in fatalities and a 12% decrease in serious injuries. Vulnerable road users make up 37% of fatalities and serious injuries. While they are underrepresented on our roadways, pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorcyclists are more likely to be in a higher severity crash. Looking at the 2024 crash data overview, 40% of crashes are intersection related, 30% are lane departure related, another 30% are attributed to aging road users, 16% to speeding and aggressive driving, 14% to distracted driving, 13% to driving while impaired by drugs and or alcohol, and 11% to lack of vehicle occupant protection. While there's still work to be done, we are moving in the right direction and making progress to ensure Vision Zero becomes a reality. Does anyone have any questions about the 2024 report?
I don't see anything. Thank you for the report.
Hey, I have a
What-
question, and this may not be what we do, about the e-bikes. I've had quite a few visually impaired people reach out to me about e-bikes on the sidewalks, and one woman was pushed off the sidewalk with her guide dog, and just lots of issues with those. Is that something that's considered in this?
Since it's the legislation on the e-bikes, it's kind of the statutes, it kind of varies municipality to municipality. We're in the process of looking at and working with different, to see what can be done about making sure that there's standards for those things, that it's not just the Wild West.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Again, thank you for the report. On to informational items. The actual expenditure report, Terry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you have had the opportunity to review the packet, and many may have noticed that the actual expenditure report shows zeros. It does not mean we didn't provide any service. It doesn't mean we get it for free. The question that's being asked for here is non-state funds that are used to provide these services for coordinated transportation and transportation alternatives. Space Coast Area Transit does not use any non-state funds. We don't have federal funding for the services, and we do not have local general fund utilized for the paratransit services. All of our funding is state funds, primarily from FDOT and Community for Transportation Disadvantage. So that would be why it reflects zeros, if anyone had any concern about those numbers.
Okay. On to the next one is the TDLCB membership and meeting attendance report.
So these items are provided as just in the informational packet, so that we're meeting the standards for the TD grant. So these, we might not necessarily have an item sheet or something to talk about, but we want to provide it for the good of the group.
And I'd just like to share that the membership and attendance list will be included in every package. So if you happen to see an email spelled wrong phone number, and like we had some corrections earlier, and I did have some people reach out to me via email to notice like, oh, that they weren't listed on the attendance. So if you notice any errors, you can bring that to our attention also.
I've just been reminded that everybody needs to, when you come in, please sign in so we can make attendance correct. I appreciate that. And next is the, for financial year 2025 TD Planning Grant, fourth quarter quarterly progress report.
Again, that was another item that's provided for the group, but we don't have a specific item to talk about, but to keep in line with the TD grant standards.
Okay. Next item on the thing is that, does anybody here, any of the members here have any highlights that they would like to report for this quarter that's going on in your agency? Anything going on?
Yeah, I have some questions.
That's not questions, we're just highlighting.
Oh, highlighting, sorry, okay, next, I'll wait till next.
Yeah, that's anything that highlighting, anything coming up that they want to talk about, or any activity that's going on with their agency?
I can do
Okay.
a little bit. Okay, so I don't know how relevant the first one is to Brevard, but we are beginning lease up in Holly Hill for our 70 units of affordable housing, which 35 of those units are set aside for persons with, usually with disabilities or coming out of homelessness. And then we are closing this week and beginning construction probably by the end of the month on another 80 units in Titusville for senior affordable, exclusively senior affordable.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
I have some.
I'm sorry, Camille, if you don't mind sharing, I think you might have mentioned this before, but just to make sure that transit services prepared for a potential group of new riders or rider location, where is this located?
It's in Titusville off of South Street, up near South Street.
Okay.
We have another apartment complex just for veterans about up there on Rock Pit Road. It's pretty close to that area.
When do you have finish date? Move-in
It would
date?
be, well, we're supposed to finish with 365 days from groundbreaking, but you know how construction goes, it doesn't
And
always happen.
yeah. Well, sometimes it goes faster
We're
once in a while.
we're hoping this one goes faster than Orchid Lake did, but the one up in Holly Hill is actually going to be complete ahead of schedule, so.
Okay, but the
Yeah.
Titusville, when do you plan on?
Titusville, we should be breaking ground by the end of the month, so
Okay.
within a year, yeah.
So about this time, 2026?
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I saw somebody else over here.
Come-
The National Federation of the Blind of Florida is opening up some programs for children. Not all of it is specific to Brevard County. For example, we'll be doing IEPs now for blind children. It includes the entire state, so that would include Brevard County, but we are planning to launch a Braille enrichment camp for kids, and I'm trying to get everyone to agree to have it in Brevard County, since I would be the coordinator, and I live here, I don't have to travel. But that would be something done during the summer months, probably June or August, and it might bring in an influx of parents with kids. Some parents who don't have access to their own transportation may want to come in, and I'll talk with Transit about that. If that becomes a possibility, we'll be asking those questions. But we are opening up some programming for youth who are blind or low vision in the entire state.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Please keep us informed. Do you have anybody else? No one else? Okay. On to public comment. We have 3. We ask that you keep them to 3 minutes. First one up is Felicia Wilson. The next one up will be Margaret Campbell-Reese and Maria Riglucci. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. I've only got one issue. The issue is the manifest. If you have an appointment at 2:30, doctor's appointment at 2:30, and the bus picks you up at 2:30 and then you're late for your doctor's appointment, how can we fix that?
All right, I don't have the answer. We'll have somebody look,
Madam Chair. Sorry, I don't mind responding, but I'll say it this way, and I understand their concerns. However, if the concern is brought to our attention, and I know that this is going to open a can of worms, if the concern is brought to our attention in advance, we can look to address it. I am not able to answer that, and I don't expect staff to answer that question here today. We will have to look at the specifics and then try to address it in the future.
Thank you.
thank you. Margaret Campbell, Reese? Oh, Renzel, oh, that's an L, okay.
I actually got some answers to my questions on the bus from people riding, so that was very helpful today. But the one thing want to talk about, there is no general communication with riders to know what's going on, how things go. There's the website, which has a few things on it, but like coming here, I find out things. But everybody doesn't come to a meeting. So there's nothing to make us aware of what plans are, no input, no anything. And to me, that's important for the riders to know what's going on, what the rules are, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. I mean, I've called to make a ride and been told I can't take 2 trips. I've got that clarified now, but it still happens. And there's nothing out there to explain any of it, or to give us an update of what's going on, what plans are going on, and getting input from the riders. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next is Maria.
Just leave it at Maria. And just for recording purposes, it's Rigliosi, Rigogliosi.
Thank you.
So, again, leave it at Maria. I want to thank this body for listening to me. I'd like to apologize for my bombastic presentation in May. I promised certain people that I would not do that. One question. How do you lose a passenger when you've dropped them off at one address? And in my case, my appointment was at 10 o'clock. I know my doctor's appointments because there's nothing but follow-ups. I was done by 20 after 10, but I had to wait till 11:30 to get a bus that never showed up. That bus didn't show up till almost 1:30 because nobody could find me. Although I'm giving a location, nobody can find me. Can I tell you that I was irritated, to say the least? That's one. You're not given information about changes on the bus. My pickup time was 7:55, and I'm waiting out there since 20 before, because it's 7:55, be out there 15 minutes beforehand. And I'm waiting, and I'm like, okay, did I miss the bus? No, I didn't. The driver has 8:05 as a pickup time. So there's a mismatch there between the times we are given, the times we are picked up. Yes, it's not an exact science. I understand that, and I appreciate that. Believe me, I appreciate having transportation. I really, really do. I've never been rude to any of the drivers. I am definitely not rude to customer service. Customer service has improved a bit, which I'm grateful for, but there's still a lot of things to be done. And let me tell you something, I work in customer service, so I'd be more than happy to inform people how to approach customer service. Put yourself on the other side. Put yourself on the person requesting the ride. The people who make the appointments for us, they don't ride the buses, so they don't have a clue. They drive to work and drive home. We, on the other hand, we have to schedule appointments, and we have to wait 2 hours after a doctor's appointment, and then hope and pray that on those 2 hours, the bus is going to be there, or get lost and not know where you are, which didn't make sense to me, but again, I didn't kill anybody, I didn't rank anybody out. I was like, you know what, I just, no more patience for it. So,
Thank you.
that's my question.
There's no other comments? I'm sorry, Jennifer, I don't have but you had a comment that you wanted to make?
Yeah, is it on? Okay, it's on now? Okay. So, yeah, I had actually some questions that were from the public comments about because someone reached out, the person who did the public comment asked about, can she take more than one ride a day? And I thought the answer was yes, but she had been told no. So what is the answer?
Carmen's coming to the podium
Oh, thank you.
to assist on answering that question.
Thank you.
Okay, the answer is yes.
Okay.
However, we're trying to cut down on fuel, so we're trying, if you have 2 appointments, try to get them as close as possible. So we could take you from your home to your first appointment, then to your second appointment, and then back home. Some people, I just gotta say, I have to cut down on fuel.
I can see where that would be ideal. It's not
Yeah.
always possible, but that would be ideal, right? Okay.
Yes, so there is requests to be taken to the doctors in the morning, go back home, and then get picked up again to go shopping. We get those kind of requests throughout the weeks too, so we have to
Yeah.
kind of deny or suggest. So we've been doing suggestions, we're not trying to deny trips, but we have to be a lot more flexible with the trips.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that answer. The other thing is, when I was riding the fixed route recently, it's extremely hot, and there was no cover where I was. Do we have any, we've been talking about this for a few years now, do we have any update on when we will get covers, especially the one at the mall, because you have to walk from across the entire parking lot? And it's very, it could be dangerous for people. Is there any word on that?
Ms. Cleveland, you referenced the mall. You're talking about Melbourne Square Mall?
Yes.
There's shelters at the Melbourne Square Mall.
There weren't where I was. Where the bus was coming, all the buses came up, there was no shelters.
Ma'am, there've been shelter there for multiple years.
Okay, it wasn't where they dropped us off then.
There's only one drop-off point at the Melbourne Square Mall where all the buses meet. So let me clarify.
Yeah.
There are 2 locations at the Melbourne Square Mall.
Yeah.
One is the transfer center where all the buses meet. There's a
Yes.
shelter there. It's been there, I can't even tell you how many years, 10 or more easily. And that's one location. The second
Okay.
location where the buses drop off, there's actually only one bus, 21, that drops off at the Macy's on the backside, and it's immediately outside of the exit to the store itself. So there's nowhere at the Melbourne Square Mall that wouldn't be covered. So I'm not sure where you were dropped off, but the only 2 bus stop locations have, one is a bus shelter,
Yeah.
and the other is outside of the building.
So the fact, obviously, that I'm visually impaired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There wasn't.
I apologize. You mean the fixed route? You're speaking about the fixed route,
I'm
correct?
talking of the fixed route, yes.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, because I rode the 21, and it was a Saturday, so they weren't dropping off at the Macy's. It was at the transfer area.
Yes, ma'am.
And wherever I was, there was no shelter. Now, of course, being visually impaired, there could have been a shelter down there that I didn't know about. But where I was walking, coming out of my bus and walking past multiple buses, there was no shelter. So I'm not saying there's not one down at the end, but it wasn't where I was. And I know that there are quite a few other stops around that don't have shelters, which of course can be dangerous for our pregnant riders, our elderly riders, our vulnerable riders. So is there any movement on getting the shelters?
Yes, ma'am. There's always a shelter being installed. However, it's not as simple as implementing a shelter at a location. Currently, Transit Services does a lot of working with Florida Department of Transportation projects. So when a road is being resurfaced or rehabbed or sidewalks are done, we try to work together with that group to have the shelters installed at that time. Most recently, our shelter project has been on Clear Lake Road. Prior to that, several shelters were installed in Merritt Island. Prior to that, Satellite Beach. So it's a continuous project. However, one of the biggest problems with installing a shelter is the need for right-of-way. And it's typically on the backside of the sidewalk. So in many cases, there's not enough space on the back of the sidewalk that allows for a shelter to be installed. Where we're able to, we have done so, and we continue to do so. So over the last 2 years, there have been at least, just counted off the top of my head, 11 shelters installed in Brevard County.
Okay. All right. And the other thing was the buses are supposed to have the audio announcement of what bus they are, and none of the buses had it turned on. The 21 didn't have it on, and none of the buses at the transfer center had it turned on. I walked up and down to try to listen to all of them, and none of them had that turned on. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, ma'am. So the exterior speakers of the bus, you have to cut a hole into the bus, and we determined not to do that. However, within the bus, the notification is on board the vehicle for the announcement of what route it's being served.
Is it supposed to also announce the stops? Because it wasn't doing that, but is it supposed to do that?
Not every single stop. The annunciator announces major locations. For example, Melbourne Square Mall will be one of the locations, or any major shopping centers, any major points of interest that we have a lot of ridership. We have made sure that those are on the annunciator, but not every single stop. And I understand that, a visually impaired rider may not know exactly where he or she is on the bus, but we also advise that they speak with the operator, let the operator know, hey, I need to get off at X location, and the operator keeps that in mind. And most times, I don't think I've had too many complaints from visually impaired riders about the bus driver missing their stop or not dropping them off.
Yeah, in all the years I've ridden, I've only had one miss it. And so they usually do a very good job, and this driver also did a very good job of keeping us informed.
But I will look into the annunciator concern that you mentioned, just to make sure that they are announcing the major locations as supposed to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other thing was just having the driver speak to us when we come onto the bus. It's rare that anyone ever says anything. I don't ride the fixed route as much as I used to, so the drivers don't know me personally anymore. But just reminding them when they see a white cane, when they see a guide dog, to speak and announce themselves and come on board. It's safe to come in, because I have to stand there and say, can I come in? And sometimes they never even speak to me, and I just assume, I just say, okay, I assume it's clear since I'm not hearing anything, and I come on board. If we can just encourage them to speak, that would be really helpful as a visually impaired person.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome,
you.
Ms. Cleveland.
Is there any other comment?
I don't know if you miss. Rigliosi has her hand up. I'm not sure if you. Up to you, ma'am.
Ms. Regulosi, what is your, I've got to make it quick here. Some of us have got to get back to work.
I've got a question. When malls open, they're open to the public, so it is a public mall. I was told you will not get transportation into the avenues because the avenues doesn't want the buses there. The only buses that would go in there are paratransit buses. If you're talking about weight distribution on a vehicle,
Sorry, that's the microphone.
Thank you.
You're recording.
I'm loud anyway. If you're talking about weight distribution because the vehicle may be too heavy, well, gee, are you saying that to the UPS truck? Are you saying it to the box trucks who are doing deliveries? And I was there, I saw them. Now, if you're going to tell me you're going to drop me off on Lake Andrew Drive and I have to walk through the mall to get to where I've got to go, that is an accident waiting to happen. Because we all know, and we've all been there, People go in there, they want to get to where they want to go, and they drive carelessly. Stop signs, oh yeah, in a minute, I'll stop. And my question is, the location that I have to go to is by Books A Million. So they're going to drop me off at Lake Andrew Drive, and I have to walk from there to Books A Million and sort of kind of weave in so I can, do it once, you think you have it in your head, okay, I go this way, then I go this way. That's not that easy, especially when people are weaving around you. So I'm trying to figure out, how do malls dictate that paratransit can't go there? That is a violation. It's a safety code violation for people who are disabled. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and there's people who won't go because they've been told you can't.
Thank you.
Actually, I'll respond. And once again, one of the biggest things is I want to make sure we're differentiating between fixed route and paratransit services. We can look into the concern you mentioned about paratransit not being able to drop you off. However, I want to make sure it's clear that that is private property. We don't have authority to drive everywhere in Brevard. If it's private property, we have to abide by whoever the management property owner is for any particular mall or any particular shopping center. Typically, paratransit has a smaller vehicle that can access. Fixed route will not go in because of the size and the weight of the vehicle. But if a mall administrator or a management property owner says our vehicles can't access that, we are unable to go in. But if you want to get with Carmen and give her specifics on where you were, I heard Books A Million pretty much right up the street here, but she can tell you more information about if we're able to go in or not. But I just want to respond to that one.
Thank you.
Sure.
May I make a comment?
Please.
Maria, Terry is right. I always get them mixed up. I think it's Title III of the ADA has different rules than Title II. So private property, they have a little bit more leeway in how they could dictate how a person with a disability can access their property. I think it would be best to also have a conversation with the management of the avenues to see if something can be worked out, because even with a government entity, there are certain limitations in what is considered a violation or not. And right now, it's not necessarily a violation, but it might behoove them to consider something different for something like a paratransit bus, which is smaller. But that is a conversation that you probably need to have with the management of the avenues or any other business that has restrictions on where paratransit can and cannot access.
Is there any other comments or questions? If not, I say that we adjourn the meeting and meet back here November the 17th at 10:30. Oh, wait a minute.
Before we adjourn, I don't know if it's on. Just a little update on FDOT. There was a little reorganization at the district level, and my friend Jamie Ledgerwood, she's going to be in charge of the Brevard County. So she's going to be primary. I'm going to be the alternate.
I'm sorry, it was kind of hard to hear you.
Jamie Ledgerwood, she's going to be primary.
Okay.
For these meetings, I'm going to be the alternate.
Okay.
I'm going to take care of Ocala Marion, Flagler, Volusia. She's going to take care of Brevard, Lake Sumter, Orange.
That's kind of kind of different. Okay, they don't
Just,
match up to each other, but you know.
An update on that, so maybe by the next one, we're going to send an email with the update, and maybe for the next one, I'm not going to be here. I don't miss it.
Okay, we're going to miss you, and you've done a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for your service here.
Thank you.
At the Brevard County. Is there anything else? I say we all adjourn and meet back here November the 17th at 10:30. Until then, have a great weekend, or have a great summer.
Oh, yeah.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.